So, well, when you, because Jeff was with you at that lecture with the Warrens,
Yes.
and I know that you at first thought that Lorraine was not taken with the idea of touching you because she knew something about you. And that turned out not to be the case, right?
Yeah, during the presentation, which I have to say, as someone who was skeptical of the whole scenario, was very good. And I usually use the analogy of something like The Walking Dead or some show like Lost or where they're not real but they're interesting to us. Star Wars, Star Trek. And so I went to the seminar by Ed and Lorraine with a grain of salt, but it was free, which is no risk financially, and my friend was going, and they were great. It was really interesting. And at the end of the presentation, they announced that you can go up and say hello to Lorraine and meet her, and shake her hand. And again, my friend Jeff, who lived one door down from me in Erie Hall, he was excited by that fact. I mean, they had been on television, there were books about them, and he loved concept and esoterica, and he had a series of questions he wanted to ask, but he couldn't decide which one to ask. So he pushed me in front of him a little bit to buy some more time, and when I got to where she was, she looked at me and she said, I won't shake your hand. And I did the old look behind me like, well, who's she speaking to? And it was me. And she said to me, I don't want to know my future. And with that, Ed removed from the stage. That was it. And I thought for sure that she had the wrong person, or she didn't like me, or she misread me. And that was very mysterious to myself and Jeff, who never asked this question. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago, and speaking with her daughter, that it was something totally unlike that at all. And that she thought I was a nice young man, but that the energy I had, or if you call it an aura, or whatever you call that, was so strong that it interfered with her ability to read things, and it kind of interfered with her presentation. That couldn't be allowed. And so, off I went. But it's funny how, as a young kid, everything revolves around yourself a lot of times and self-perception. I just sort of asked the question or stayed around, but I didn't. And I find out 31 years later that she actually held me in high regard, and I respect her a lot for,
Right.
what she's done over the years.
Well, I tell you, she has done an awful lot. And she is really, she and Ed are who in America kind of put the paranormal on the map in the
Yes.
public eye.
Yep.
And I have a lot of respect for her too. I
They
think that
popularized they popularized it. Most of the jargon, the terminology, the activities, the style of investigating, that comes from them.
it does. And it's really interesting because, then you had the American Parapsychological Society, who is the seances and things of that nature versus the investigating. They do investigation too now. But I just find that all of these all of these practices go back so far amazing because you don't really get that when you are watching, you know, ghost hunters or paranormal experience, paranormal survivor. That'd be a great name for a show, people.
It
But
would pe- people want to feel important sometimes. They want to feel admired. They want to feel special, and that's a great thing. But I think it's better to feel special more through your actions and
yes,
impact than just through a concept or title or like an event. And you probably see this, and I've seen it too. And I will never say names, but there's a lot of drama that goes on in many organizations of paranormal nature. And one of the reasons that is because it's so subjective. You and I can watch a baseball game and we'll both watch the score. Let's say it'll be the Marlins 3 and the Braves 2. That just is. We'll watch the same exact game. If you're a Marlins fan, that was a very good baseball game. The pitcher did well, the people hit the clutch properly. If you're the other team's fan, the Braves fan, that was a terrible game. So two people both watching the data, experiencing the same moment, can walk away saying it's good or it's bad. And that can cause an argument. So you can imagine now when the voices are frailer, when the evidence is less, when
yes,
there's more subjectivity in terms of what I am actually hearing and how I interpret that, people get their feelings kind of bent out of shape. And a lot of times people forget the main reason people should probably be investigating is to explore, to experience, to share a moment, to look for answers rather than why isn't my data better than your data, or how I'm more sensitive than you're sensitive. It's just I
Oh,
wish we could get to a
please.
spot
Yes.
where we could get beyond that. And so I'm El Lobo Solo. I just do my own thing mostly, and I love almost everyone I meet. But I do see a lot of crumbling on the wayside here, and it's tough to watch.
Well, it is tough to watch because, most of the people who are having those discussions are on equal par.
Yes.
They're good investigators, their evidence is good. They've been either doing it for quite some time and know their equipment very well, or they haven't been doing it that long but have various skills that help with that. And I don't think it really matters if you've been doing it for 30 years or if you've been doing it for 30 days, if you're gathering good evidence and willing to share. I think the willing to share is the most important part because we're supposed to be working for the same goals.
And that's just it. In fact, look at families. There might be a grumpy aunt or a grumpy uncle that people have in their family who they're a bit of a curmudgeon. And they stand apart, and people judge them, and they're angry at people, and they don't relate. And then one day the person passes away. Then they recall, the time that they lent him $10, the time that they spot the baseball game, the time that they went, and all of a sudden the good things come washing over them. They think, what have I done? I just wish that, just like with that people can enjoy the moment. And there are a lot of young people now investigating. And whenever I meet them at events, I tell them, enjoy these days.
Yeah.
Enjoy them. It's the glory. You're all in good health. You're young. You're hopeful. Hold on to this as long as you can, and don't let petty differences pull you apart. Because if you don't actively work against that, it's going to happen. And especially when you talk about what investigators do, they're looking at something beyond life. And what a beautiful way to find meaning in things, and to search for answers.
It helped me when I lost a parent. I mean, right. It really did, because I feel like I've had experiences that allow me to feel comfortable saying, I know there's something past this life. And that matters to me. I was able to tell him that. And he knew, because it was almost immediately before he passed. And it was a good conversation. But I was able maybe to give him some comfort from what I've experienced, I hope. Or at least not to make it worse,
Well, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And some people, as you mentioned, don't have that. But you know what? Right now, we're living, we can have that. So here's an example. Kathleen Wilson, Jennifer Cannizzaro, Bill Reap, Teresa Sayers, Barry Ruggiero, Cookie Stringfellow, Joe Hawk, Chip Reckenthal, Billy Beeler, Diane Casey, et cetera, et cetera. These are people that I've met and spoke with and spent time with over the past few years since I've been talking about this ghost and the experience. They're my friends now. And I enjoy having them in my life right now. And whenever I meet them, and I thank them for their kindness and their friendship and their support, I love that. And I could talk for hours and hours about Dawn Green and people like that and Wendy Moore and Haddon, but it's just amazing, So I try my best, having lived through those dark times, and I don't always succeed, trying to be positive and appreciative and thankful for what I have, because eventually there'll be an end in some way to this. And I want to make sure before that happens, I make the most of it.
Well, I will give you credit and just let you know that you do make a difference. And your positivity radiates. It's one of the best things about you. Because even when you do not feel great, you are still a happy and pleasant and really wonderful person to be around. When we first met face to face, you were tired. You had been writing forever. You had been to have a wonderful experience with family, and we're on the way back. And y'all took the time to stop and to get a hug and eat sushi, which I know that Maddie is so proud of that. But
yes.
But, you took the time, and taking the time matters in today's world because time is a commodity, just like everything else is, apparently. But not everybody has a lot of it, so when somebody does that, that's why I'm so appreciative when somebody comes here and talks to me, because it's their time. Their time they could be with their family, their time they could be getting ready for something or doing something, and they gift it to me and my listeners. That's a big deal. You're a big deal. You do that. You take the time to talk to people that makes them feel like makes them know, not feel like, but know that they matter to you. And I think that's a great thing.
Well, I secretly I get nervous for events. I wonder if I'll do a good enough job. And I got a note from someone at an event about 3 years ago. It was torn out of a notebook. It was signed letter B. That's what was signed, and it read, "Thank you for your courage and for showing the world your perseverance. I'm going through a somewhat similar situation though, and after 10 years, I'm coming to understand its nature. And you there, and the parallels in your story, and seeing you surviving and moving on and living reminds me that I have the strength to get through my own stuff. God bless." And so I usually read that note, which is now it's on scan form on my computer before I go to events now, and it gives me the lift, the courage to keep going forward.
That's amazing.
So I saved that.
I bet you did. I mean, goodness gracious, that's amazing.
Thanks. Well, that's them. That's them taking the time. I mean, they took the time to write that. I never would have known. So that's good on them, and I hope they're okay, and I'm very proud that they had the strength to do that.
I am too, and I don't have any idea who they are, and I think that's just a beautiful thing. Right. We are very close to our second break, but the courage that you didn't feel like you had when your haunting first began, you did have. And people who are going through events like that, they never feel like they're doing enough. And I always want to tell them, you are. You're coping with the unknown. In your case, you're coping with something that nobody around you had a clue about. And, right. You gathered strength, and you had people gather to support you, just like you're doing for people who are going through that now. And I want to cover that just a little bit, but we are up against our second break. This is only 2 minutes. So we will be right back.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live at